You're listening to the Cat Breeder Sensei Says podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about some realistic expectations to have when you get a new cat or a new kitten and bring it into your cattery. But before we talk about that, I want you to listen to this short message about a course that we have for brand new breeders. If you're just getting into breeding cats and you're trying to find some foundational information, check this out. Be right back.
Do you want to learn how to become a successful breeder of pedigree cats? Now you can. For the first time ever, enroll in an online training course that takes you step by step through everything you need to know to get on the right track. Visit catbreedersensei.com to sign up today and use code podcast21 to get $25 off.
Okay, so what are some realistic expectations that you can have when you import or just buy or trade a kitten for your breeding program? Let's start with importing, because that is probably primarily how most new breeders are going to be acquiring their cats for breeding, is importing them from another country. And I've done a video about, some tips when you're importing a cat, and how to select a courier and the different types of transportation and transport services that you can use. That's on YouTube, and there's also a blog post on our website, catbreedersensei.com, that goes over all of that, all of the importing tips. So be sure to check that out. But this, we're going to talk about some expectations about the cat itself and, what to do when they arrive, and then maybe even some expectations after they've been there for a couple of weeks. So when you're importing, it's typically a very, very long travel time. It can be, depending on where they're coming from and where they're going to, it can be anywhere from an entire day, up to 3 or 4 days of traveling for the cat. They could have to, travel by train to a courier's house and then spend the night and then go to the airport and fly cargo. And then from cargo, they get shipped to another city via in-cabin and then travel by car to a house. That's how my last kitten that I imported traveled. That's all of the steps that she went through to get here. And when they go through that much change in a small amount of time, a realistic expectation is for the cat to be stressed out. So cats, by nature, they don't like change. They like things very routine, and they want to know what to expect. And if you want to know kind of what I'm talking about, just put something new that they've never seen before in the middle of the floor and watch how they react. They're so dumbfounded by something being out of place or something being moved or something new being in their living space, and they just weird out, and they act weird because they don't like change. So when you take, a kitten that doesn't like change by nature and you put them through all of these changes in such a short amount of time, they become stressed out. And when they become stressed out, a few things can happen. First of all, they can not act like themselves. They can, growl. They can hiss at you. They can curl up into a ball and maybe even smack you and swat at you because they don't know what's going on, and they feel defensive, and they're not in their comfort zone. And, their defense mechanism is telling them to protect themselves. So, they may just become not very friendly while they're traveling. And that's okay. I mean, we have to understand that they're in a position that they don't like and they don't want to be in. And they're just, reacting the way that they know how, and how to, protect themselves from what they're afraid of. So you have to understand that if your cat or your kitten arrives and they seem stressed out, definitely give them time to decompress and settle into a new spot without any changes, and then you may see their true personality coming through. Some of them will take a few hours to adjust, some will take a few days, some may take a few weeks. So it just depends on the cat and its personality and sometimes the age. From what I've seen, most of the time when the kittens arrive, even adults, I've definitely imported adults as well. They're perfectly okay. Once they get here and we let them out of the travel carrier, maybe they're a little weirded out at first, but they quickly adapt and they seem like they're happy to finally be in a place, with a human, and they're not in their travel carrier. So, another thing that might happen to them while they're en route is they may use the bathroom in their travel carrier, especially if they're on a really long trip. So, you have to imagine what it is like for the amount of time and distance that these cats have to travel from one country to the next, from one continent to the next. It's a long trip, and they may have to pee and poop. They are not restricted from food and water. The breeder sends them with their food and water, and they're in a travel carrier. They don't have a litter box. So sometimes, when you gotta go, even if it's in your box. And the carriers that are transporting these kittens, they may or may not have the opportunity to bathe them. And if the cat is stressed out and being, hissy, growly, aggressive, the courier may just decide it's not in his best interest to stress this cat out even more by giving him a bath. So, your cat may arrive dirty. And you should expect that. That should just be a realistic expectation. If they don't arrive dirty and they arrive clean, then be very grateful. Just be really, really thankful that your cat is clean when it arrives. I recall most cats or kittens, when they arrive, they kind of smell like, I don't know, a farm animal. It's just, they stink. It stinks in there. They've peed. Some of them have pooped. It's on their fur. You can just let them decompress. They will usually clean themselves up in the first 24 hours that they're there. Just let them settle in before you start doing other things to stress them out even more. Now, once they arrive at your home or your cattery, wherever they're going to be, definitely want to quarantine your new cat for at least 14 days. Now, quarantine means they go from their travel carrier straight into an isolated area where they are not around any other cats or kittens. This is pretty important because we don't know what's going on in anyone's cattery. We don't know, the conditions that they live in. I mean, of course, if you know the breeder, then that's a different story. If you have actually visited the cat, you may know what it's like. But still, quarantine this cat for 14 days at least. Some people even do it for as long as 30 days. But my protocol is 14 days. And during that 14 days, they don't get any contact with any cat that's in my house or in my cattery or in my nursery. Absolutely zero contact. I want to monitor this newcomer for 2 weeks. And I also do some treatments while they are here. So I'm going to go ahead and treat for coccidia. I'm going to treat for giardia. I don't want these parasites coming out into my common areas. And, the cats can have these conditions and not have diarrhea. So I still, by protocol, I'm going to treat the newcomer while they are in quarantine for these two things. You also want to check them over really thoroughly for anything that is odd on their entire body. So check their gums, the inside of their mouth, the inside of their ears. Check them from head to toe for any scabs, any sores, any bald spots, anything that looks like it should not be there. And if you find something, then find out what it is. Okay, what about viruses? Well, when you bring in a new kitten into a colony, that can trigger some upsets in your resident cats. While the new cat may seem completely fine, once you put them in amongst your other cats, the other ones may say, "Oh, I don't like this," and their immune system gets weak and they get sick. They may, get a little bit sick and throw up, and they may get diarrhea and just feel under the weather for a couple of days. They may get a full-blown URI where they're sneezing and congested and not eating. So it just depends. I'm not exactly sure why that happens, but I want to say that the new cat may just be a new bacteria that's introduced to the cats, and they're not used to it, and they have to fight it off. I mean, I don't know. That's what I'm guessing. But it does happen. So a lot of times people will blame the breeders if their cat is sick when it arrives. And after all of the stress that it's been through, it's not surprising if you see your cat become sick, especially in the first 2 weeks. Like, there is an incubation period for a virus to become active, and they start shedding the virus. That 14-day period, really gives you the window to allow the cat to get stressed out. And, if he's going to have anything wrong with him like that, if he's going to get sick, then usually they'll do it within that first 2 weeks, and you can continue the quarantine at that period and do a PCR if needed, and administer medication if you need to at that point. All of these things I'm talking about are not common per se, but I definitely just wanted to let you know about them, that they're also, it's not out of the question for these things to happen. So just set realistic expectations for yourself and your cattery and other breeders is really where the expectations have to be set, is what can you expect when you're doing business in this space, and what happens and what are the downfalls of importing a cat. And these are some of the things that you have to look out for and you have to be ready for, and not get super bent out of shape about it. Like, you don't have to start breeder bashing because you imported a cat and it got a URI 10 days later. Like, you should probably expect that to happen. And if it doesn't, then excellent. That's good. I guess, not knowing what to expect is really what catches people off guard. Okay, let's now talk about bona fide health problems in a cat that you have spent your money on. And when I'm talking about health problems, I'm referring to health problems that you probably should not be reproducing. The list is very long for these. I do DNA testing on all of the cats that I use in my breeding program, and I have never, with a capital, never, spayed or neutered a cat because of any of those problems. It's usually something else. So the DNA test, yeah, they're cool and all, but that's probably not what's going to send your cat into early retirement. So I just want to set the stage for you and put this in your head. You are going to buy cats that have health problems. No matter what you do and how careful you think you are, something is going to go wrong eventually. And it may go wrong before you are ever able to breed that cat and have kittens from it. And you're going to have to take a loss. I was just looking through my records, and I have bought 4 kittens that I was never able to breed or get any kittens from. They are Mystic. I bought her as an adult, and I was told that she was a great producer. And when I got her, I was new, and I wanted an adult. I wanted one that was already producing kittens, and I thought it would be kind of cool to get an adult. And someone once told me that nobody ever sells a good female. I don't know how true that is, but it kind of rang true on this one, because I mated her a couple of times and she was not able to get pregnant. So she was a total loss. Another one was Delilah. I imported her from Germany, and when I got her, to make a long story short, she had ear polyps and throat polyps. And it took me about 4 months to figure this out, of going to the vet, I don't know, once a week, and putting this poor cat on every antibiotic under the sun before they finally diagnosed her with ear and throat polyps, and she had to have surgery to remove them. I spayed her and never had kittens. I had Wabi Sabi, who I got as a kitten at 4 months old, and when she was 9 months old, after one heat cycle, she had developed pyometra and had to have surgery. She was spayed. I never got kittens out of her. And then recently, I imported a very beautiful black smoke female, Xanalee. And when I got her, I realized that she had very short legs. And this was something that I did not see in the pictures or the videos of her. So, I was very shocked, because I've been picking kittens from photos and videos for several years, and usually I'm happy with, the cats when I get them, because you never know what you're going to get. Like when you open your travel carrier, you're like, let me see what I bought, and then you're like, oh, okay, I didn't see that. Well, her was her legs, and there was no way I was breeding this cat. She looked like a little munchkin. She did not look like a Maine Coon. It was very odd, but I sent her off to a pet home, and I never got kittens out of her either. So that was 4 that were total losses. And that's, I expect that. I expect that I'm going to buy a cat and not like it. Maybe it has a bad temperament. Maybe, it has a health problem. Maybe it gets pyometra. Maybe it doesn't get along with my other cats. Maybe, they can't live amongst my female. There's all kinds of reasons that it could be a total loss right out of the gate. And that's just an expectation that I have. And I don't get mad at the breeders for that. I'm a big girl. I can make my own decisions. And I don't expect that there's any cat out there that is perfect. And, that's the expectation that I have. So I'm really never disappointed in the breeder that I get a kitten from. By all means, I will write them off and say I'm not going to get a kitten from them again, but I'm never mad at them. Like, even if a health problem comes up, I assume that the breeder didn't know about it. And cats have health problems. Pedigree cats and cats alike, they're no different than people. And so that's just an expectation that I have when I'm dealing with this many cats. If you have one pet, okay, good. Your odds are in your favor. But the more cats that you get, and the more cats that you're dealing with, and the more kittens that you have, you're probably going to see more problems, because you're working in higher numbers. So if you just have that in your mind, and you're not disappointed by that, then it will be a better journey for you. It's really when you have expectations because you paid so much money for a particular cat, you expect it to be perfect, and there's really no such thing. There's no such thing as a perfect cat, just like there's no such thing as a perfect person. So if you set them expectations for yourself, you'll have a great journey as a pedigree cat breeder, and you won't live in such a negative space like most of the cat hags do. They just are so unhappy with how everything goes, and they display that with true negativity in the groups and amongst each other. And maybe it's just their expectations are set way too high when dealing with other people and with cats and lives and things like that. Like, it's not perfect. We're all perfectly imperfect. So with that being said, enjoy your journey as a pedigree cat breeder. It is fun. It is rewarding. Just have the expectations set so that you're not disappointed, and everything will be better. Okay? Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon. Make good choices out there. Bye.